Today, we're going to do something a little bit different. When people hear the phrase English dub, they think of Japanese animation. But today, we're discussing a Polish-Swedish animated film by the name of David and the Magic Pearl. Known by the title David and Sandy in Polish, the film came out in June of 1988 in Poland. The story revolves around a boy named David who lives in the jungle. On his birthday, he gets a blue canine companion named Pips. Later, they find a baby eagle named Sandy, and together they go on an epic adventure full of aliens, poachers, treasure, and big fat tits. 5 months later, it came out in Sweden, but with substantial differences, the most notable being the soundtrack being replaced and there being more voiceover to fill in some of the silence. It's a very quiet movie in Polish. There's not a ton of added narration, but enough to get some exposition. It also cut some of the original film scenes, about 5 minutes worth, and has an alternative name which translates to David and the Magic Pearls, although it is still referred to as David and Sandy. Information on the film leading up to and upon release is scarce, so the sources I have for this one may be spotty. According to Nostalgia.pl, this movie actually had a big advertising campaign, and used the music of popular Polish singer-songwriter Seweryn Krajewski. Krajewski wrote the soundtrack of the film and performed the opening and ending themes, which translate to ABCs of Adventure and UFO is the dwarf of our days. I don't know, I'm not trusting Google on that last one. The film has a notable, goofy, awkward animation style. Like, not always in a Looney Tunes kind of way, but like, hands get bigger, animals change in size, movements are sloppy, characters make creepy faces. Later in the movie, the animation takes a psychedelic turn. It's all around a strange, trippy movie, like something from an LSD trip. In its homeland of Poland, David and Sandy received a couple of awards. The film's director, Wisław Ziemba, won Head of Cinematography Award in Animation for this film. The film also got the Marcinek Award of the Children's Jury at the Ale Kino International Young Audience Film Festival. As with most series we've covered so far, David's escapades netted him a lot of fame. So he got a lot of video games, toys, product tie-ins. I'm joking. It didn't take off like that. The movie did have a series of comic books in Poland though, 17 books in all. Otherwise, David's adventures with his pal Sandy didn't live on past that. Kind of a first for this series. Let's jump ahead to June 16th, 1989. A year after the film's original release. David and Sandy received an English dub released by Celebrity Home Entertainment under their Just for Kids imprint. This company has a large library of foreign cartoon dubs, from Hungarian to Russian to Romanian to Spanish to, of course, Japanese. They also licensed dubs for tokusatsu series and kaiju films. As far as dubbing goes, the voice acting is great. It has a lot of solid, recognizable talent in the film. And the ADR directors did a great job matching the lip flaps to the mouth movements, most of the time. Honestly, if I didn't know any better, I'd say this is a cheaply made American work. The English dub was based on the Swedish version, so it keeps that version's soundtrack and cut footage. You wouldn't think this movie needs many changes or localization edits. It doesn't. It's not like it takes place in Japan, you have people wearing kimonos and eating jelly-filled donuts, but the dub writers decide to make a few big changes. One, David is a kid specifically from Chicago, and he is there on summer vacation with his parents, making him highly relatable. Oh, and if you forget he's from Chicago, he will remind you.
All my friends were back home in Chicago. Chicago.
2, some names are changed or added. It's not like the names were super foreign, and it's not like the film has a bunch of characters, but they decided to alter or add names for whatever reason. The dub also changes the name from David and Sandy into the alternate title of the Swedish version, David and the Magic Pearl, now singular. 3, he never shuts up for the entire movie. This is a common trope in English dubs from the 80s running up to the 2000s. They didn't need to change the soundtrack as Sweden already took care of the heavy amount of silence, but the American writers thought the movie was still too quiet even with the occasional word from David in the Swedish dub, so why not have David narrate the film entirely? But who cares, Celebrity Home Entertainment licensed it to make a quick buck, not to win some kind of award. This movie picked up a cult following partially thanks to the YouTuber Nick Shorts, who created a series of David and the Magic Pearl themed YouTube poops in the late 2000s. It sparked an interest in others who both remembered the film and those who had never heard of it before. And here we are in the year 2021, where I took it upon myself to take a break from talking about long-running media juggernauts and talk about a European cartoon. Obviously, this isn't Doraemon or Shin-Chan, it's not a well-known movie internationally, so let's break it down into a fun little summary. So today, let's take a look at David and the Magic Pearl, including voice actors, dub changes, and the crazy plot and animation of this movie. The film starts out with an opening song about David and his friends, and the animation's full of dancing, flying, being trapped in bubbles, and dancing pink elephants. The lyrics to the song spoil the movie's plot, and they also call him Davy for some reason. As mentioned, this movie had an alternative title in Swedish called David and the Magic Pearls. In the Swedish dub, since it's also referred to as David and Sandy, it keeps the animation of Sandy flying around revealing the letters of David and Sandy. The American release completely replaced that using a still from the movie with the new title. Like, I get making a new title card, but did you really need to pick this picture of all the stills you could have picked? In the first 2 seconds of the movie starting, we're introduced to David, an average kid hailing from Chicago who is also the narrator of the movie. And boy is he.
I guess I should start right at the beginning, because that's always the best place for stories to start. See, everything here in the jungle was new and different to me. That's right, I said jungle. I could hardly believe it myself.
Get used to this, folks. 90% of the movie is David talking about everything on screen or what's going on in the plot. And if there's nothing to talk about, he'll make comments about what it's like in the jungle, usually about what isn't in the jungle, or what he misses about the good old US of A.
But I thought for sure I could bring my computer or at least my bicycle, but no such luck. Heck, here in the jungle there isn't even any television.
David's voice is provided by the late Christine Cavanaugh, famous for being the original voice of both Chucky Finster from Rugrats and Dexter from Dexter's Laboratory. In fact, David is her very first voice role, predating Chucky by over 2 years. So after David provides exposition about being a kid from Chicago, going to this unspecified jungle with transforming pink elephants and butterflies, and not shutting up for more than 5 seconds, we meet these guys. Enter the Spacers. They talk amongst themselves about searching for a lost pearl, one could even say a magic pearl, that is apparently so powerful the human world could fall into chaos. Why it's on Earth, I don't know, but now the sun is up and they're losing their powers for the day, so they need to resume their quest at night. And now we get to see more of the cast of characters. Meet David's father, Edward, a pipe-smoking stretchy boy that brought David along for summer vacation. His voice is provided by Doug Stone, best known for providing the voices of Shingen and Durarara, Dr. Light in Mega Man 11, and Psycho Mantis in Metal Gear Solid.
You like Castlevania, don't you?
So David's dear old pops is out for some exercise while feeding his tobacco addiction. David comes in to reiterate to the audience how relatable he is because he's from the city, and even getting in a quick late 80s, early 90s era anti-smoking message.
Smog alert! Smog alert! We left the city to get away from the pollution, didn't we, Dad? I said that smoking's not good for your health at all.
David's dad vows to stop smoking. What a powerful message. Way to go, David. It just so happens to be David's birthday today, and we're introduced to David's mom, Sarah, and oh boy, I think the designers were a little bit too horny designing her. David's mom is voiced by Melora Hart. She's been the voice of Cyborg 0012 and Cyborg 009 and Kyoko in Akira, but she's better known for her many writing credits, having worked on Bo, the recent Viz dub of Sailor Moon S, and many Saban shows like Power Rangers, Digimon, and of course, Bob in a Bottle. Isn't it funny when things come together in a weird way? David is given a special birthday surprise, a blue puppy named Pips. Pips is as excited as David, so excited that he accidentally turns on what can only be the most powerful fan in the world. Either that or Pips weighs 2 pounds. After seeing his puppy almost slaughtered by a ceiling fan, David breaks into more exposition about the family of eagles from the start of the movie, segueing into the introduction of one of the main antagonists of the story. And seriously, I'm pretty sure the staff were horny as hell designing the main 2 female characters. In the Polish original, this busty blonde femme fatale goes by the name Madame Rusk, but in the dub, her name is Fawn Doe. Sounds like a Phoenix Wright character. Accompanied by her goofy purple ape Samuel, Fawn is a poacher looking for valuable animals in the jungle to make money for her boss. He doesn't have a name in the Polish version, but his name here is Mr. Steelmore. Really? You couldn't come up with a better name than that. The next morning, Steelmore calls the poacher pair on the televisiphone, and yep, his name is just as apt as his appearance. A fat man in a suit, fedora, and sunglasses. While he is out for money and capturing endangered animals, he is also looking for the Spacers' magic pearls to rule the world and rip down the jungle to make a town for himself. He says once he rules the world, he'll be able to take on bigger things. The implication being there are bigger things than ruling the world? What, is he trying to out Pizza the Hut? Fondo is portrayed by Wanda Nowicki. She doesn't have an extensive history in voice acting, but she voiced Krillin, or Bongo, in the Harmony Gold dub of Dragon Ball. Mr. Steelmore is voiced by Steve Kramer. Yes, that Steve Kramer. He can also be heard as Shunsui in Bleach. Hiruzen in Naruto, and going back to the Harmony Gold Dove of Dragon Ball, Shenron, or the Dragon God. Funny enough, he is married to Melora Hart, the voice of David's mom, and they've done multiple writing/adaptation jobs together. Neat. Fondo and Bonzi Buddy get to work packing pachyderms, and as luck would have it, they spot the Spacers. The next day, David says it's too nice a day to spend indoors, so he decides to play in the jungle. And there's Dad smoking that pipe again, so much for quitting. So David goes off into the jungle unattended, and it doesn't take long for him to find adventure. David spots the Spacers hopping through the jungle in search of their magic pearls. Following their tracks, David discovers jungle creatures packed into cages, from rhinos to camels to a pair of eagles. Guess who they are? That's when we're finally introduced to
Sandy, the baby eagle.
His mom and dad were trapped by Fondo, and David, making an oddly provocative face, says they'll be sure to free Sandy's parents. The young Chicago lad proceeds to free the animals from their low-security cages. Fawn comes back before David can remove the peg on Sandy's parents' cage, and hijinks ensue when all the animals are running amok. David takes off before he has the chance to get caught, Fawn offering enticing items if he comes back.
Come back, little man. I have pizza and a skateboard and a videotape of Madonna. What do you say, bud?
Guarantee you that wasn't in the Polish version. So Fawn finally has the foresight to add locks to the cages, I guess that's where she went, and proceeds to recage the animals. David goes home and reveals the big surprise about having a baby eagle. They begin to, prod and poke at him? David decides to name the bird, brace yourselves, Sandy. David's dad explains that they'll eventually need to set little Sandy free, and David follows it up with the big reveal about Fondo and Mr. Steelmore's plot to capture the animals of the jungle, including Sandy's parents. We go from David being worried about revealing his baby eagle to revealing an evil plot. Of course, his parents don't believe his wild story and say he's got a highly active imagination. David goes to bed after his parents dismiss his story. That night, the Spacers come back and give Fawn and Homer the Ape a big spook. David rubs his eyes with his gigantic hands and looks out the window to see a lot of weird lights. The Spacers land in another effort to search for the lost pearls. David gets changed in a matter of seconds and somehow the glass in his window is gone. He sneaks out with his animal pals to investigate. Also, David's dad only has 3 toes. Huh. I wanted to note, it's not clear who voices the Spacers. They all talk in a robot voice with heavy modulation, so your guess is as good as mine on that one. Fawn and Samuel get their stuff together in pursuit of the Spacers, but not before we get another big horny animator scene. Oh, there's more to come. So the Spacers are hopping and doing a little song. It's honestly really cute. And this is where the movie gets weird. Like, I know it's been weird so far, but now it's going to get really weird. The Spacers find the pearls and heat vision them back into the container. Miss Doe catches them and throws them into a cage. And of course, we get a tight ass shot. David doesn't know how to help, but thankfully, one of them wasn't caught and assists David. Its name is Glitz, and it guides David to a tablet with ancient writing on it. He pushes it and opens yep, here we go, secret passageway. Ah, there it is, the magic pearl. It's David and the magic pearl, hey! Pips and Sandy run ahead and explore the place, David trailing after them. David looks so excited to help the Spacers, David couldn't put the pieces together, so he had to clarify that after the story, his dad took him to a library and found he was in a temple made by, quote, old native guys, his words not mine. He sits on a block of Swiss cheese and the scenery begins to get more and more surreal, like this movie's scenery just took a weird turn. David enters a choraphobic's worst nightmare as he finds a hall of clown mirrors, but I'll be real, when I first saw this, I thought they looked like a bunch of urinals. Imagine pissing into this. Before his eyes, David's reflection turns into a scary face.
David, you have found the Hall of 1,000 ancient secrets. Enter the mirror. You alone hold the Pearl of the Ages.
I believe this face is voiced by Frank Welker. It sounds like his voice for Dr. Claw. I'm sure Frank needs no introduction to a lot of you, but this is the guy that voiced Fred from Scooby-Doo ever since the 60s cartoon. And also Megatron, but I could go on and on and on listing off his roles. The guy has a Lifetime Achievement Award for his job. I digress though, cool they got him on board for this throwaway dub. David enters the mirror and finds himself transported into, geez, what the heck is this movie anymore? He wasn't kidding, it is like an amusement park out of hell. David starts doing parkour down the narrow paths. Oh, and a reminder, he's from Chicago. Seriously, what is so great about Chicago that he's not shutting up about it?
One thing for sure, there was nothing back home in Chicago that looked anything like this.
No, this looks familiar. Dr. Claw greets him again and he finds a series of statues called the Museum of Toys to Come. David remarks some of them look familiar to him from TV and movies. Yo, that's deadass E.T., that's not even a knockoff! The last one is a spacer. David tells Glitz all of his friends were captured in the jungle. Glitz reiterates the importance of the mission at hand. The pearls contain all the knowledge of the universe. What they're doing in the middle of nowhere, again, I don't know. Mr. Steelmore flies in. He says Fondo couldn't handle the job, so he's taking it into his own hands. He finds the temple and deduces the pearls must be in there. David walks out of the temple and the genius Steelmore pulls a Johnny from Metal Gear Solid 4 and gives away his location with his binoculars. Glitz laser beams him and blinds the guy, and David and the others take the opportunity to hide the pearls. David eats his finger while coming up with a plan. Pips recommends burying them there, but David and Glitz bury them underneath the stone. David is a child from Illinois and can't lift this gigantic brick, but Glitz comes in with his laser beam and lifts it for him.
This little Plix guy from outer space had more power than a whole arcade of video games.
What does that line even mean? I get it, reiterating my point, relatable American kid, but as powerful as an arcade full of video games? What? So the pearls are safe, now for the second point. Free the creatures of the jungle. David and company head into the poacher's site to, once again, free the animals. It's not as easy this time because they finally put on locks. David gets the keys as Fawn takes a nap, and with help from his animal pals and the spacers, they unlock the cages. Fawn wakes up from her nap and, thanks to mishandling a gun, dazes herself before everyone makes a break for it. Fawn quickly finds the tables have turned and she's trapped in a cage. Amidst their celebration, Fawn begs to be freed. She explains it was Mr. Steelmore's idea to capture the animals and fund his plan to demolish the jungle. Mr. Steelmore must have a nose for treasure though, because he's convinced it's under one of those stones. He digs under the one where he finds a tail feather in, and ta-da! There's the container for the pearls. Sandy explains what's going on using charades, and oh god, David, stop doing that! Fawn begs David again to free her since she answered his questions and she's turned over a new leaf. David questions his morality and decides to be a good kid and frees her. And he dies. The end. Just kidding. She cuts her hair and changes her outfit, and I guess that means she's good. But back to the fat man. He makes a mad dash into the temple, and the pearls lead him to the clown urinals, and after tripping on his ass like a dope, he recollects the pearls and is thrilled he's now the richest man in the universe. But it's too early to celebrate as Fawn and the rest come dashing in to stop him. Steelmore makes his escape through the portal, and David is stopped in his tracks. So they give up for now, and Pips makes goofy faces in the mirror, including giving him a
Thick ass.
before the walls start to close in on them. David, in an act of desperation, made a promise every kid can relate to.
If there was any way to stop that wall, I'd promise to be nice to everybody, never tell another lie, and eat my vegetables, even broccoli.
Wonder if David is as good on his promises as his smoker dad is. And right when David is about to get squished into Chicago Kid goo, the walls give up. And the movie makes a jump cut. They just said they escaped and they're back into David's room. Now I checked if this was in the Polish version, and sure enough, there it is. I get throwing away filler scenes, but why this one? Well, in any case, David runs on home, he tells his parents what happened, they don't believe him, Dad takes little Davy back to his room, and David has a sliding door now. Dad says it's fine. David just has an active imagination, and it's healthy for any grown kid.
When I was a boy, it was a very different story. I ignored my imaginary friend.
Jump back to Steelmore and Fawn, the American version for once didn't have David monologue over the scene and instead have Steelmore talk about it without having his mouth move. He gets spooked and makes a run for it, once again dropping the pearls. The pearls reassemble and start sparkling. Yup, Steelmore found the treasure, but not if the newly good Fondo has anything to say about it. But not right now. Once again, David's yaoi hands rub his eyes. He's up bent. Once again, the spacers are looking for the pearls. Familiar scene of David not having glass in his window and shushing his pets. David discovers the plants are dying in the jungle and deduces they know something is going on. Steelmore keeps walking like Robbie Rotten like he has for a good portion of the film and is in awe of the treasure. He fantasizes about riding on sparkles and turning into the sun. Fondo looks on as Steelmore announces his plan to demolish David's house and put Steelmore headquarters in its place. He then... Man, I could make a comment about what this looks like, but nah, he's getting a walkie-talkie out of his pocket and lets the bulldozer drivers know to start destroying the jungle as soon as he turned into a vampire, I guess. The destruction begins and David's parents begin to realize something's up and their house starts shaking violently. And the animators decide at this point to blend these normal jungle scenes with the psychedelic animation. David makes it back to Fawn's base in the jungle and he, too, realizes he better make a run for it because the bulldozers are on the way. David and his many tamed animal friends go into the soon-to-be demolished temple, and they find themselves now trapped. Steelmore watches the destruction, but he's soon interrupted by none other than Fawn Doe. Steelmore does the creep walk to Fawn, and then we get this. No, let's stop for a second. We had titty shots, we've had ass shots, but this is a panty shot in a kid's film. What the hell? But her hits are ineffective as Steelmore's obese body absorbs her hits. And oh boy, creeper time. Yikes. For the third time though, he drops the damn pearls. The ceiling comes down on them and everyone tries to escape. Blitz comes in and says they need to hurry and stop Mr. Steelmore. Blitz leads them through the potty mirror by chanting, an ancient Indian incantation. Okay, not racist, but anyway, it worked, so David and friends make it through to Steelmore. Once again, the pearls fall out of their case, so they play keep away with the pearls for a while once they're back in, but David decides to pet his dog and gets captured and, oh, they drop again. Seriously, it's the 5th damn time! Samuel to the rescue as he climbs up a pillar with the case and everyone's a pro basketball player as they throw the pearls into the case. The tables have turned as they assemble the pearls and begin shutting down Steelmore's plans. Steelmore finds the portal to the Hall of Secrets, but oh my god, what is going on? Okay, so they toned this down in the American version. The disembodied voice of Frank Welker explains that Steelmore will be trapped until he learns his lesson about greed being bad. But in the Polish original, Steelmore dies. David goes home and realizes the jungle is just as much a home as the Windy City is. The spacers fly off, Fawn waves goodbye, and the animals begin to fly with David. David talks about what he learned over summer vacation. He waves goodbye to Sandy and the film comes to a close. Wow. So why did I review this? It's something I've wanted to do for a while, revisit this odd film. Just like a lot of other people, I found this because of the YouTube poops of the movie, and when I learned it's a foreign film with an English dub, I figured let's cover it and make a review. The more I dug though, the more interesting it became. This is late Soviet era Polish art, and the history behind it is interesting. In fact, when I look at comments or posts talking about the film in Polish, people are nostalgic for this film, even if they have criticisms as an adult. It's one of those things. And I'm sure a lot of people on my channel's demographic don't know this film exists, or that Polish or Swedish viewers know there even was a version over here. While it was greatly a footnote and a quick paycheck for other actors, it kickstarted the career of one of the most memorable 90s voice actors, Christine Cavanaugh, who would continue to do voiceover until 2002. Obviously, it didn't make any kind of impact amidst far more impressive films made in the States, but it's really cool to see these early dubs of stuff that isn't Japanese. If you want to see this acid trip for yourself, it's been uploaded to YouTube. Actually, all 3 versions were. The Polish original and the Swedish and English dubs are all available, so if you want to see this for yourself, check the description. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned because I'll be announcing the next video after this outro. Don't worry, it's something a little bit more familiar. If you like this video and want to see more, please leave a like, subscribe, and leave in the comments what did you think of David and the Magic Pearl. Do you know of any other English dubs of European cartoons? What else should I cover in this series? I'm always listening to suggestions. Shout out to all of my subscribers on Twitch, on screen now. Twitch subscribers get to see the videos the day before they're uploaded, so if you'd like to support what I do and get to see stuff early, as well as progress reports and have your name on screen here, please consider subscribing.